All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vicksburg Planning Commission October 9th, 2023 edition. Time is 7:05. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And missing the secretary again. Got it. Do we want to read off each name or?
No, we'll go ahead and take attendance. Christian will take the necessary notes and do the minutes for the meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next item on our agenda for tonight is approval of our agenda. Trust everyone has had time to review that, and I will call for a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
If I can add one item, Mr. Schenkel, under village manager's report, it'll actually be item A, and that will be comments, reference, plant roles and responsibilities, planning and zoning.
Okay, so A. Comments, okay. And then the village updates will shift to B. Okay, so we have some changes from our village staff regarding that. Call for a motion to approve tonight's agenda with those amendments.
Chairman Schenkel, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
We have a motion on the table from Member Holmes. Do we have support for that motion?
Member Wortell, I support.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Next item we have on our list here is our swearing in of our new member, Mr. Colin Bailey. Colin, good to see you.
Thanks, sir.
Staff.
Village clerk Christian Wines will administer the oath for Mr. Bailey.
Stand and raise your right hand for him. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, the ordinances of this village, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commission and Downtown Development Association member in and for the Village of Vicksburg, County of Kalamazoo, and State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome back, Colin.
All right. Thank you for that. Next item on our agenda is citizen comments. If you have any comments, you're welcome to come up to the microphone. You do need to state your full name, your address, and time is limited to 4 minutes at this time. So I'll leave it at this time for anyone that would like to. If you would like to, come up and share comments.
There we go. My name is Renee Janofsky. I'm the owner of Maizami Play Cafe in Vicksburg. And I just wanted to speak briefly about, I just was made aware that we're thinking about bringing a Big B to Vicksburg. So just personally, just wanted to give my feedback on that before that happens. We've been here for 3 years in Vicksburg. I've actually lived here my whole life, but we've had our business in Vicksburg for 3 years now. And I know for myself and a few other businesses that bringing a Big B to Vicksburg would be detrimental to us and would probably be the beginning of the end for our business as a coffee shop and as a play area. We have 3 main sources of revenue. Coffee is our number 1 source of revenue. The play area is our second source of revenue, and then birthday party rentals is our third. So getting rid of that one, and we also opened in Mattawan last year, and we are closing at the end of the month because we can't make it work. And Vicksburg has been a great space. We've been supported here. Our coffee sales are just starting to take off, with more and more people every day coming for the first time saying, I didn't realize you actually had coffee. So, I mean, bringing in a Big B across the street from us would be like bringing in a Meijer to Family Fare. Like, that just doesn't make sense for our small village, and I would hope that you would reconsider.
Any other citizen comments? Okay. We're going to close citizen comments and move on to our next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes from September 11th meeting. Again, trust everyone has had time to review those. Any comments or questions, or call for a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from September 11th as submitted.
Motion on the floor from Holmes. Support?
Support from Blankenhorn.
Thank you. Support from Plagenhorn. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. And next is village manager report that was amended for tonight's agenda. So take it over, Jim.
No, I appreciate that, Chairman Schenkel, and just wanted to inform first the Planning Commission that at the November meeting, the village council, our village attorney will be present and will be going into closed session on a legal document that is being prepared. And that will be on that agenda. But under the roles and responsibility of the Planning Commission as it relates to planning and zoning, perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of planning and zoning is the need to balance the various, often competing interests of property owners and residents. These competing interests are represented through the concept of property rights. Local decision makers are required to balance the interest of private property rights against the need to protect the public interest. In other words, how much regulation is enough to protect the public, and at what point does the regulation begin to infringe on property rights? In the midst of these sometimes competing interests and views are the local authorities for zoning, zoning administrators, planning commission, zoning board of appeals, and a village council. Dealing with each of these conflicting perspectives is simply not possible, and the intent of zoning is to avoid conflicts that arise. Instead, zoning follows some basic principles and procedures designed to treat each person, property, and point of view fairly and consistently. Following an effective decision-making process is one of the most important methods of avoiding, or at least surviving, challenges to decisions. Careful consideration and supported decisions through the standards of the zoning ordinance is important. These standards must be written into the ordinance, and if all standards are met, the application must be approved. If the decision is challenged, the importance of using the ordinance's standards becomes self-evident. A well-supported decision provides the background needed to build a solid legal foundation for the decision. The use of standards will help avoid the arbitrary and capricious label often given to zoning decisions that are not well supported. The record must show sufficient facts to back up the findings made accordingly to the ordinance standards. Some simple considerations: it is not enough to deny an application because of a vague notion that the use is not a quote-unquote good idea, or that it will, in quotes, harm the neighborhood, end the quotes. The presence of a room full of people opposing the project is not sufficient reason to deny an application. The past performance of the applicant should not be used as a basis for denial. If there are doubts about performance, make proper use of conditional approvals, performance bonds, and proper documentation. Approvals and denials should be thoroughly documented on the record, clearly stating how the ordinance standards were or were not met. And questions of doubt should be resolved before taking action. Do not act hastily. Zoning decisions are permanent. take care that the decision is the best that can be made, given the information available. We did, and I'm going to tie in to we don't have action items, but we certainly have updates on the specific of 3 different items that will be in front of future planning, in front of the planning commission in future meetings, and the village council. And so people, I don't think I told the whole board either. I was given a presentation at the Lions Club, and thankfully there wasn't a train coming through town, but I did make it here in only a couple minutes' time. So I'm going to call on, we have shared with members of the Planning Commission communication that we have distributed to the developer of Bigby Coffee. And as you can see, we don't need to read them. It's been provided to the members, but there's 14 different points that have been communicated to Bigby's, the development team of Bigby's, as well as, if I can get this up. Engineering memorandum. Let me not confuse you here, or confuse me, I guess. I don't know. Reference, or both from a zoning perspective, which we outsource to McKenna and Associates, as well as having our engineers dig in behind the scenes as we work with any potential developer. And all of the developments on tonight's agenda that are under discussion points are handled in those professional means. So there has been communication, again, on 14 different points with the development at Bigby's. There's, as we get into the other items that are in front of the Planning Commission, not for action, but discussion tonight, I want to assure the Planning Commission and the public that it is looked at from the lens of legality of what the ordinances require for the village of Vicksburg, and proceed in that manner. So I did want to have those discussion points. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I can answer any questions that someone might have. On a side note, I got a brand new computer from the village that's a touch screen. And I might be going back to my old fashioned one.
Right. I don't think there's any questions. Thank you, Manager Mallory. Anything else on that topic, or move on to the Village Hall tours?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer the Planning Commission, if you, Village Hall, as we stand right now, the new municipal building, just finishing up the finished drywall. We anticipate by the end of the week, painting will start in portions of the building. But at any time, if a member of the Planning Commission would like to take a tour and walk through the building, just reach out to me individually. We'll do it in non-quorum fashion, but be happy to take all of you through individually or whatever you like. We are fully still expecting to be moved in by the end of the year. Pretty confident that we will have a temporary parking lot, confident that the old Village Hall will be demoed, but that the permanent parking lot and landscaping will be in place in the month of May 2024. And that's when we would have open house tours for the public once it's completed next spring. But we believe in the month of January, we'll be holding municipal meetings in that building.
Great, thank you. All right, next item on our list is Planning Commission items, and we have a master plan update from McKenna and Mr. Kyle Mucha. Kyle, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you, I've asked Mr. Mallory if we could just provide a brief overview of where the master plan sits. It's been some time since we've been before you on this process. So the plan, in essence, has been drafted, and our goal is to bring it in front of the Planning Commission in November and request that the master plan as drafted be submitted to Village Council to begin the required 63-day public comment period. Planning Commission is a recommending body, and they are asked and tasked with updating the master plan. So in that regard, we will be asking Planning Commission to make a positive recommendation that the master plan move forward to public comment period. So I believe, hopefully it's been provided. I know it's a large document. We can look at hard copies if needed, but wanted to get it in front of the Planning Commission over the next few weeks so you have time to review, so that way in November it's not a new document you're looking at. We've already highlighted a lot of the items. Nothing new has changed. It's been primarily grammatical and graphics work over the past few months on that, getting it to a stage to get it in draft format presentable to the public. So again, in November, we are looking for a positive recommendation to council that they begin setting the 63-day public comment period. And that will offer residents, stakeholders, other municipalities the ability to comment on the plan. After the 63 days, it comes back to Planning Commission, which at that time you'll be requested to have a public hearing on the master plan itself, and then make a recommendation to hopefully adopt. So we're looking February-ish of that timeline.
So with public comments, is that an opportunity to maybe just cover bases, make sure if anything was missed or anything like that, the public has the document and they're able to kind of consume it and then provide any feedback? That's the purpose of that?
That is the purpose of that, yes.
Okay.
Should staff or ourselves get comments from other municipalities and there may be grammatical in error or grammatical in nature, we will, maybe save a new copy and just start to make those subtle changes and then present that, after it's been reviewed by Planning Commission, but no physical or, we'll say, exponential changes will be made to the document during that public comment period. Because once it's set out, that is a document the public is reviewing. So.
Okay. So January, excuse me, January is when?
So we would hope for in November, Planning Commission makes that positive recommendation. Village Council at their second meeting of November would then authorize the distribution of the plan and begin that 63-day period. So then you're looking at potentially February for a public hearing before the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
This is Member Wertella. How are you requesting or expecting comments that might come from the Planning Commission as a whole or as members? Is something needed before the meeting in November?
Nope, we would request they be sent to staff on that regard, and then staff from there would coordinate with us on that. So if there are concerns, those could be discussed with staff prior to, and then we'll coordinate and collaborate prior to the next meeting. And then during the public comment period, we'll also provide a potential generic email address with the village that residents can submit to, or we'll work with staff on who they would like those comments to be submitted to. I don't think Mr. Mallory wants to receive, more emails than he already does. So we'll try to, spearhead that in a way that we can encapsulate all those comments. And then should there be, significant comments received, they will be provided back to staff and then ultimately Planning Commission as well. That includes municipality comments.
Yeah, sharing a microphone here. If I can add, Mr. Wertella, those comments should come directly to myself, and you can include Christian Wines on the email, but it should not include the entire board. Your conversations and deliberations and comments and interactions should all be conducted at a public meeting that has been properly noticed.
Kyle, the document that we have in front of us, is that a partial document or is that I'm trying to get a sense of what what we're looking at, that we can, as Mr. Rotella said, that we can provide some commentary if needed.
So pending any significant changes that staff or ourselves may find, what has been presented to you would be again presented in November. But because it is a large document, trying to provide that a week ahead of time does not offer ample opportunity. So coordination with staff, we did request that it be sent out, earlier. So Planning Commission does have ample time to review. So nothing is anticipated to change within the document between this meeting and the next meeting. So even if there are comments received, we'll work with staff on how to process those in the future.
Any further questions regarding the master plan update? Okay. Next item is 215 East Prairie Street, the proposed site plan for a Big B Coffee. And I'll get this over to Jim.
Yes, and just the documentation has been supplied to the Planning Commission on staff's communication with the developer of Big B's. That was sent last Thursday, I believe, and we're waiting for the developer's response. And it should come this week, and we are preparing as a staff for the potential that could come in front of the Planning Commission at the November meeting, but we will keep you apprised of, and it's back to the recommendations contained within the communication to the developer on those communications with them. So it is proceeding forward behind the scenes with a goal of having it in front of the Planning Commission at the November meeting.
Thank you. Next item is 300 West Prairie Kepco Properties Site Plan Review Application.
Yes, it's in the same arena as Mr. Mucha just described. That isn't in front of the Planning Commission for an action item tonight, but we wanted to get you all of the documentation well ahead of the November meeting. We anticipate the request being that that's in front of the Planning Commission at the November meeting. And when there is an action item in front of the Planning Commission, staff will be present to give our recommendation, as well as we will have at the November meeting representation, I believe Mr. Mucha, but representation from McKenna, as well as our legal advisor, Ms. Catherine Kaufman, to be present in front of the commission to answer questions. So that was supplied as information within this packet, those documentations, but it'll be anticipated it's an action item in November.
Okay, thank you. And last item on Planning Commission items is the industrial lot at Leisure Park.
Yes, wanted to bring forward to the Planning Commission. We've been working behind the scenes for quite some time now. We believe we're in a position to move the last developed industrial lot, which is off of Prairie Street, in front of the Municipal Building Authority, for sale to a developer that will have a proposed anywhere between 50 and 75,000 square foot manufacturing facility with a number of jobs attached to it, and wanted to let the Planning Commission know that ultimately that site plan and review obviously will come in front of your body, but the first step is to go through the Municipal Building Authority and Village Council to sell the property to this developer, and that is in the works. I do not believe it'll be an action item next week. It will be, as we do in front of the Planning Commission, summarize it at the October meeting, and with the goal at the November Building Authority meeting to present the action item for sale. But I want that. On a side note, I did get a call this week. We should be closing on the 10 acres the village purchased of industrial property off of Spruce Street by the end of next week, I believe it is. So.
Great, thank you for that update. Next agenda item is the DDA action items, and looks like there might be a little bit of an update on the grant applications.
Yes, it is a part of our website. We have distributed that to DDA businesses. We will be following up with an additional email in the application to ensure that everyone is aware of the program. We already have one filled out application submitted. So just wanted to update the board that's proceeding forward. As hopefully most of you have seen, if you've been downtown, it went through the budget process and we had approval that the village would take responsibility for the boundary area in front of Distant Whistle, and that fence has been put in place. And at the appropriate time, as we get into the winter season, we'll be removing that and storing it so we can properly remove snow off the sidewalk and street area there. But it was purchased in downtown as well. So any questions on those two, I'll be happy to answer. And the last thing I have to report is this Saturday, we're planning on throwing a birthday party for ourselves in the most humble way we can, but it will be from 3 to 8:30. We'll have 4 food trucks in the area of Kalamazoo and Prairie Street. Big contribution of hands-on activities through the Vicksburg Cultural Arts programming. We're asking downtown businesses to decorate their storefronts in a birthday party theme. You'll see a birthday party theme hopefully throughout downtown by Saturday. Attractions, we are going to have the largest inflatable obstacle course and slide for kids that we've had. It doubles any that we've had at one time for the Berg Days. And then we will have live music. Tom Askley's band will start performing about 3:15. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll have Caitlin Rose's. It'll be 90 minutes of a tribute to Fleetwood Mac in downtown. There is a VIP section connected to sponsorship that we put out for the next 3 events. So there will be cordoned off tables with those sponsors at the levels we indicated. They'll have lanyards for that VIP section, but we'll be encouraging the public to bring lawn chairs and that as we anticipate very good music being played. And that's this Saturday, October 14th, beginning at 3 p.m. There'll be some cones on Prairie Street at some parking spaces. The downtown streets, just like Berg Days, will be on Prairie Street. The barricades will go up about 1 p.m. Main Street at Prairie Street will be a little bit after that, so we can get the stages set up and everything ready to go. And that's my report.
Jim, I just wanted to acknowledge the podcast that was shared on the village website today, the Richard Pyatt. Great information that's out there regarding the President Frisbee reviewed, the attendance that we had in the Berg Days and the various events that we had, as well as the business owners that, also gave their comments. It's truly exceptional to see that type of activity in a community this size, and I would just suggest to the fellow committee members, take a look at that if you get a chance. It's 5 minutes, and there's so much information that's in there. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, and it'll be on our website tomorrow. It was a Facebook post this weekend. We're pleased and have had a long-standing relationship with Richard Pyatt, and he certainly recognized what was going on in Vicksburg, and to be able to highlight 3 locally owned businesses and the impact, I think it speaks for the entire business community downtown. I've heard nothing but positive things from those events.
No Christmas in the Berg promo?
There is, we might as well. Thanks for the reminder. Now we just extended the meeting by 30 minutes because this is certainly a yearly event that everyone enjoys. The last year we had about 12,000 people in town. and it is December 9th, 3 p.m. to 8:30. John DeBalt has been tremendous help, as well as Christian and Natasha leading the efforts. Almost all of the activities that have been a tradition the last few Christmas in the Bergs are going to occur again. But one additional item is we've secured a trolley that will be taking up to, I think it's 28 or 30 individuals at a time on a 17-minute tour of the village. And we have entered into an agreement that while that 17-minute trip is being taken, they will listen to a narrative on the audio within the trolley specific to the village of Vicksburg and its history and future.
Very cool. Thank you. All right. I think the next item on our agenda for this evening is member comments. I will open it up to the commission for any member comments.
Jim, this is Member DeBalt. Not to backtrack or anything, but I'm just want to backtrack to the 14 items that were on the Big B thing that Kyle Mucha submitted from the McKenna. Are these recommendations or are these compliance things that have to follow?
Some are recommendation and some are compliance.
That will have to be brought forth on the site plan, on the new site plan, right?
Yes, those are discussion points that staff will be having with the developer between now and when it is ultimately presented in front of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a couple minutes, and I'm going to apologize in advance because this is going to be more than just a few minutes. Some of us may have read in the South County News regarding comments from last month's council meeting where we discussed, it was actually a very organic conversation. It just came up out of something we were talking about, and it was about housing in the community. And if you'll notice, if you read that, you'll notice that all of a sudden, various council members, including me, had thoughts about this. Those of us that have lived here 50 years. We've seen, the development of the town, which is, it's great to see people interested in the energy here. But I wanted to share this with you by the way, President Frisbee and I have discussed this today, and he's fully aware that I was going to share these comments because we are going to look at continuing this discussion, because I just want to share with you some data that I have obtained, not only what was discussed and maybe was in print, but also afterwards, because it's eye-opening. It's absolutely eye-opening when you look at it. So the last 10 years, let me ask you this, all of you, just bear with me. 2013, what do you think was the average sales price of a single-family home in this community? I'll give you a few seconds. 10 years ago, 2013. The number was 114,000, and actually in Kalamazoo County, it was 156,000. 5 years later, that number increased to 172, which was a 51% change in the village. It's 201,000 for the county, which was a 28% change. Think about that. Our community grew twice what the county did in 5 years. That's great, right? I mean, it's great to know that property values are going up, people are coming here. This is a great community, and it's positive. 5 years later, though, so 10 years from 2013, the average house price went from 114,000 to 261,000. By the way, this information was provided to me by a realtor. I've got the document, happy to share it with anybody if they'd like it. So we went from 114 to 261,000, 129% increase. What did the county increase over those 10 years? 91%. So we have to stop and ask ourselves, why are we outpacing not only the county, but guess what the United States was? 49%. 49%. This was and still is a working class community. We have to look out after everybody in this community. This upsets me. This truly upsets me to realize that we have such an imbalance in this community. I'm going to stop to speculating why that is. There's going to be more research and more discussion at the council meeting next Monday. But Redfin reported that investor purchases of single-family homes was 6% of all purchases in 2000, so 23 years ago. In 2021, it tripled to 18.4. You know why? It's called a recession in 2008 and 2009. We had 6 million homes foreclosed on. And guess what BlackRock, Vanguard, and 12 other financial organizations realized? We can make a hell of a lot of money out of buying these properties that are undervalued, and especially, guess where? In working class communities. I'm not saying BlackRock or Vanguard is in Vicksburg. What I am saying is people with means understand exactly what's happening, and they're doing the same thing. I know some of them. I know some of them in this community and outside of this community. My point is simply this, and that is that this actually is in some communities up to 20 to 25% of all sales are investor purchases. And that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. I used to remember when I was a kid that you would see Mike Wonderland and Skip Knowles every summer bought a house, they fixed it up, and what did they do with it? They sold it. They sold it. Guess what everybody's doing now? They're investing a little bit of money in those things, and they are running the hell out of them. And the market dynamics are not there anymore. To me, that's when government steps in. That's when it's time for municipalities, for governments to look out after everybody and say, what are we doing? And again, I'm not going to further speculate why this is happening, but that's the reality in our community right now today. Our houses are so expensive in this community that I've had residents say to me, I can't live here anymore. And it's not water, it's not property values, it's everything. And I'm not saying we're not a good community, we're a great community. I'm happy to see, that we're able to get such participation in things and people enjoy living here. And the comments are positive, but we've got to make a community for everyone. And I'm very concerned, as I mentioned before, where we're at today. And I'm hoping that the council, and by the way, President Frisbee suggested that I have this conversation with my fellow commissioners for this reason. He believes that we have a say in this somewhere, because we should, right? We should. And so I'm sharing this with you not only to kind of update you on what's been said so far, but to also let you know, stay tuned. Because what I'm hoping is that the council decides to take action, and staff and the council then works with this body, and then we decide what we might want to do to address this. And I'm hoping that we do something. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Any further member comments from this commission? I'll publicly say congrats to the DeBalt family, keeping Vicksburg hardware local. That's very exciting, and glad to see that that news article. That's a valuable asset, and glad it's staying local. Congrats, John.
He's looking forward to it. It'll stay what it was. And I think you're gonna see more involvement and a lot more variety. He has great plans, and he has a great future to bring in more everyday stuff that you need. He's looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
All right. Hearing no other comments, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:44. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.